Alright humans, so here over on line 6 we have a function named p that takes in two arguments that are named k and v. And over on line 9 we use this function, giving it 3 and 4. Alright, so given what you know about function evaluation rules, try to evaluate what this function call will produce. It's going to produce a number, but try to guess what that number is without running this code, alright? Try to do this in your head. There's a mechanism that I haven't introduced yet, but I feel like you guys can guess the answer, so give it a shot. Alright, so I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So here we're going to call p with 3 and 4. So this 3 will be plugged into this k over here, because that's the first argument. And anywhere in the body that we see a k, well, we're going to replace it with 3. In this case, there are no k's, so we can move on to the second argument, which is 4. That gets plugged into v, and anywhere we see a v in the body, that will be the number 4. So there's one v right here, and you are going to be the number 4, alright? But notice how there's another v over here. This is sort of meant to confuse you in a way. So the mechanism that I have not went over yet is called scope, and that is when a function is trying to resolve variables to values, it will look inside and closest to itself first, alright? So v will be bound to 4 because this v is already bound to 4 from here. It's not going to be 7 because, again, closest, alright? So you're going to be 4. The other rule is that what happens if a function cannot find a variable inside itself, right? Or what if it's not in the parameter list? Well, this is the case right here. This is the variable a. We're not given any a's in the parameter list, but there's an a out here. So the rule is that a function will look up and up and up and up until it finds a variable of the same name and then grabs its value. And so a will be 8. And now we can carry on with this subtraction operation. So 8 minus 2 is 4. Minus 4 is... Wait, 8 minus 2 is 6. Minus 4 is 2. Minus 1 is 1. Minus 1 is 0. So this should evaluate to 0. Let me hit Control Z to undo my changes. Hit Control R, and I should get 0. Alright, so you've guessed 0. You guys got it right. And yeah. So this feature in many programming languages is called scope. And here is a useful analogy to think about scope. Alright? So say you're a parent and you lost your kids in a large multi-floor building. And they call you up and they're like, "Hey, I'm lost. I don't know which floor I'm on. Can you come pick me up?" So you, as a parent, will start from the first floor and then work your way up and up and up and up and up and up until you can find them. So back to our code. Here, we need to find the variable v. We got to resolve that to a value. So we look up. There's a v right here, already bound to 4 because we plug it in. So this v will be a 4, alright? But this a here, it's not in the parameter list, so we had to look up and up and up and up and up, right? Just like if you were to look for your kid, if they're not on the first floor, then you got to keep working your way up and up and up and up, alright? But what happens if there's a variable here called x, right? There is no x anywhere. If we run this code, then it will crash. This variable is not defined because x doesn't exist anywhere. In the analogy, right? That means that our kid is not in the building at all. We went all the way to the top floor. They're not here. Alright? Just a little cute analogy to think about scope. So let's go over a few practice problems. If you go to justlearn.com/how_to_code, don't worry, they'll always be linked in the description. We're going to do 2.7, function evaluation and scope 1. Alright? Go ahead and click on this. It generates a problem. Let's copy and paste this into the editor. So let me open it up, new tab. Alright. Okay. So pause the video and see if you guys can find out what line 5 evaluates to without running this code. Alright. So I'm going to assume that you guys took a good swing at it, hopefully without running this code, because that defeats the purpose of the exercise. Alright. So there's a function defined called q that takes in 3 parameters, a, n, and u. And on over on line 5, we call that function with these arguments. which have to be reduced to values first. So plus 3 6, that's just going to be 9. And we keep going left to right. 8 is already a value, but minus 2 5 isn't, so that's going to be -3. All right. Now we can plug these into A, N, and U. So A is going to be 9, so anywhere we see an A in the body of this function, right, it's going to be 9. In this case, there are no A's, so we can move on to the N's. So are there any N's here? There is. That's going to be bound to 8 from here because we plug it in. So U are going to be 8. All right. And U, there's one U here. That's going to be -3 from here, all right? Notice how there's also a U out here, but that's just to throw you off, again, because we look closest and inside a function first, right? So it's going to be -3. And lastly, we have this P that needs to be a value. So we look up, it's not in the parameter list, there's only A, N, and U. So we gotta look up and up and up, and we get a P, which is bound to 7. So that's what you're going to be. There we go. Now we can finally evaluate this function. So 7 minus 7 is 0, minus 10 is -10, minus 8 is -18, and then minus 3 is -16. I'm going to run this in the this window here. Again, this is not to test your basic arithmetic. It's just to get you used to plugging in values and knowing where to look for them, right? And not getting confused when there are two variables of the same name. So that should be, it's -15. I was off by 1. Oh, my math. So I hit Control Z and undo all my changes, right? This is back to where it was before. If I hit Control R to run this code, I should get -15. All right. The point was, though, is that you guys should be able to do this function evaluation in your head. You gotta know what values to plug in, and where to look up variables, right? So -15 is the answer here. And there we go. All right. So let's do another one. I'm gonna copy and paste this one into my editor. All right. Okay, there we go. So now pause this video and try to see what line 5 evaluates to. All right. So pause the video and see if you guys can beat me to the solution without running the code. I'm gonna go for spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So I'm gonna assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So we're going to call Y with 8 and B. So this B needs to be resolved to a value. And since we're outside in the global scope, well, we're just going to grab this B over here. So U are going to be 8. There we go. So now we can call function Y with these two arguments, 8 and 8. So we see a P. Anywhere in the body that we see a P, that's going to be 8. No P's, so let's move on to X. Anywhere we see an X, that's going to be bound to 8. There's one X here, so we're just going to plug in that to be 8. And now we can evaluate this function, which is, let's see, 1 minus 9 is -8, minus 1 is -9, minus 8 is 17. So I'm going to run this to the side over here, because usually my mental arithmetic is always bad. -17, okay. Alright, so that's the answer. If I hit Control Z to undo all my changes, hit Control Run, we should get the same answer. -17, alright? Again, don't run the code. Try to do this in your heads, because you guys got to get used to knowing what values are, right? What variables are what values. So -17, and there we go. Alright. So let's just do this one last one for good measure. I'm going to copy and paste this into my editor. Alright. And as always, try to solve this function call of n with 4 and e. Try to pause the video and beat me to the solution for the answer. And I'm going to go over the spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. Alright, so I'm going to assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So we're going to call n, the function n, with 4 and e. So e has to be a value first. So we see an e up here. You're going to be 4. And now we can call this function. So we're going to plug 4 into U and G. Alright. So now in the body, anywhere we see a U, That's going to be 4. There are no u's, so let's move on to the g's. So g is going to be bound to 4. Are there any g's here? Yes, there is. You're going to be 4. All right. So now there's still 2 variables left, w and f. They're not in the argument list. There's only u and g. So we got to look up for these, and that is 8. All right, so this w is going to be an 8, and this f is going to be a 2. All right. Okay. So since my mental arithmetic is always bad, I'm just going to copy and paste and run this expression off to the side. All right. Once you guys get to here, where you have all the variables plugged in and resolved to values, you guys can just run this off to the side here. Again, not to test your mental arithmetic, just making sure that you guys can plug in values right and not get confused when there are a lot of variables, right? So that's negative 14. So if I hit Control Z to undo all my changes, I should get negative 14. All right. And there we go. Whoops. It should be negative 14. Just ignore this error. I don't want to explain what it is. All right. Because E is a constant that has to do with math. All right. So we got it right. And try to finish the rest on your own. And I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching, human. If you wish to interact with more of your kind, join our Discord linked in the description or on screen. If you want to aid in my quest for world domination, consider hitting the sub button. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, thumbs down if you didn't. Any questions, comments, or suggestions, fire away below. Also, check out the annotations on screen for the next relevant video.